Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 5 of Facility Design. My name is Stephen Hilborn. And so today what we're going to be doing is going through the back of house design aspects, whereas in last week we just covered the back of house equipment. So the first thing was talking about the equipment and what the uses of these equipments are, and now we're going to be talking more so about the space use. So we'll talk about design concepts. And then we'll go through each of the areas. So we'll have our preparation, our pre-preparation area, dishwashing, receiving and storage, staff areas, and some of our waste disposal and recycling. So when you think about it, these are all the areas that we need to develop before we apply heat or before we create our final product of food. Now, the things that we're going to be looking at today are mostly related to a food and beverage commercial, so restaurant operation, although these same principles can be applied to any different food and beverage operation of the non-commercial type. So first thing we talk about is the flow and spatial relationship for preparation. Now, as you probably learned a little bit about this in quality management for sanitation, the flow of raw food is very important. So ensuring that we touch and are in the least amount of spaces as possible with raw food is going to ensure that we have a healthy area with a limitation of potential cross-contamination sources. So basically the way this happens is it all comes in from the storage area to a pre-preparation, then to our final preparation, and then to service. And a pre-preparation is where most of these units are processed in order to be able to serve them. So what you'll see in quick service is there's not a lot of pre-preparation area. Often what we see in our quick service or fast food area is that we bring in product that's already processed. So this is the difference of having frozen, spiced, cut French fries come in versus raw, unfrozen potatoes and paying someone to prepare all these things. So all of these areas need to be located adjacent to one another, following the flow of food products for the most efficient design. So our pre-preparation area. So this is where, we do our dicing and our prepping, and mostly it involves us doing meat and produce preparation. So this is central ingredient area. It's closest to our fridges, it's closest to our storage, and fairly close to our final prep area. As I said before, it deals with produce, vegetables, dry mixes. Typically, we want tables 30 inches on the low side to 36 inches high, 6 to 8 feet long, and these are the ability to provide lots of ample space to work on both sides. Sorry about my camera. One lower table is ideal for modified work employees. So this is something to always keep in mind that when we look at our universal design principles, modification and flexibility is one of them. So what we can purchase is tables that have automatic adjusters for height. So you can lower the height or you can raise it. Having one of these tables in your back of house design would be very useful, specifically if you have an employee who has hurt themselves or you hired somebody who is potentially in a wheelchair that needs a lower table to work on. We also must include waste disposal systems included in our layout with flexibility for movement. So as you can see here, what we have, maybe can I shrink myself? Nope. What you have here is a prep work area. So this is about as small as you could probably get in any kind of restaurant setting. This is a 17-foot by 13-foot area. And so this is not what we consider the hot line, where all the final product is being created. This is just our preparation area. So our idea is that this is probably over storage, or down here is probably our storage. We have one work table, which has the most space here with a sink. We have a couple other sinks over here. It is important to have sinks and state their uses as well. So one sink could be for hand washing, which is very important, and another sink could be for thawing and washing vegetables, but they should not be the same. So in many areas, you'll see two, one specifically meant for hand washing and cleanliness, and the other one meant for food preparation. So here you'll see there's a bunch of different pieces of equipment, a steam jacketed kettles, so this is for our broths and our soups, a tilting skillet, a convection oven that is outside of a hood vent, which means it's electric, and also this means that it is not going to be used for meat. So you can't cook a turkey in there, but you can cook vegetables, you can cook, you probably use this as a bakery one, but no meat or grease products in there. And then you have a food chopper and then some other things. So these are a fairly basic pre-prep work area, but can be moved around and changed as needed. You also got to think about workspaces. So when I think about the hot line, that's just one big workspace that has anywhere from 2 to 10 people working on. This is an example of the cold line. So this is the cold line where soups, salads, and desserts are typically made. Anything that is cold. And basically what they're doing here is that they have this whole little system set up that they're tossing their salad. They have the sheet pans on this cart, salad bowls, and then they're able to complete a finished salad on this portable cart to wheel out either into a dining room or to go wheeling around to individual rooms. So as you can see here, these carts are really useful because they're just able to be wheeled around. So you can set up your own little work area. And this person has a 6-foot radius in which they can reach to either side to prepare all these. So when you think about efficiency of this person working, you're going to say, how many steps does it take for this person to make this salad, prep the containers, get them all ready, fill the containers with salad, and then put them on the cart. Everything's right in front of them where they need to be. They're tossing the salad, they're putting the bowls in the sheet pan goes in the cart, and away you go. So it's very efficient. You lower your steps, which means you lower the impact on the human, and you lower the labor cost of this person. So you have to think about this for each of your areas, kind of keep in mind what kind of works they'll be doing. Some of the surface heights are important as well. So usually when we look at surface height, we look at what kind of work is being done. And usually the more precise work that needs to be done, you want to be close to the work. So you have higher tables. And it gives you a male and female range. And heavier work, you get lower because you get a little bit more torque and a little bit more strength on doing those. So generally, we just go right in the middle just because we want all of our tables around the same height. 34 to 36 inches is pretty good. And we can raise tables or lower them by putting cutting boards on top of tables, or we put floor mats on below, and we can raise ourselves up higher. So when you think about efficient workspace, you also have to think about how many people will be working in the area, what kind of equipment is required, is there clearance issues? So does this equipment have these big doors that open up that are very hot? You want to ensure that somebody pushing a cart full of food or finished product can get by when these doors are still opening. The type of food being processed and the amount of space needed for storage. When we think of aisle space, this is a really good slide for you to kind of base a lot of your aisles on. So first we look at equipment. So the first floor, I'll talk about different equipment. So you could have limited equipment. So if you want a single or a double aisle, you have different dimensions there. So limited equipment means nothing, you have toasters and coffee makers and things that don't have opening doors. So 4.5 feet, you can do double aisle, 2 people still getting by each other. With protruding equipment, so this is equipment that have opening doors or weird levers or things that could snag someone when they walk by. Double aisle is up to about 6 feet with protruding equipment. And then aisles with this little traffic or major traffic, again, this gives you a really good idea. And now this is not our AODA, so we also have to keep in mind that should we have people that are in wheelchairs, walkers, etc., we might have to expand these a little bit. Now, some things we talk about is temperature and humidity. So in a kitchen, we have both. The dish room is a huge area with always steam and hot water and what causes slippery surfaces, as well as the potential for mold and other viral diseases that travel through a very moist environment. So we got to be careful about how we control humidity. So as it says here, dish room is where the most of the moisture. So we want to ensure that we have adequate room ventilation right above this. And then temperature. So typically we have everything underneath the ventilation hood. You'll often see now, and this kind of goes along with ensuring our workforce is happy, you will also see air-conditioned kitchens, which are generally not fantastic for cost, but it is great for your employees, and it is good for ensuring that your whole workplace is not too hot. So every time that dining room door opens up into the kitchen, that the dining room isn't blasted with a bunch of heat. So this is just an idea of all the hood vents that exist. So this right here is a hood vent. It'll suck everything up. These will often need to be maintained. A lot of grease is going to get up there, as well as there's a suppression system, which is just all these right here. And this suppression system, if it encounters flame, basically what happens is it shuts down the whole kitchen, will turn off all of the gas feeds, and it's going to spray like a foam down there. Now the problem with that, it's cost several $1,000s, several days to clean up. And if you work in a place like a long-term care, you have to feed your residents every single day. There's no closing down of the food services. So if something like this were to happen, it would be a big issue. It would cost tens of thousands of dollars. And the opportunity for happen is not rare. It's happened here at Georgian College. It's always happened in my restaurants I've managed at least once in the time that I've been there. And it's often like a grease flare-up that will cause those to go off. So the main kitchen line, which is your main preparation area, your front line, your main line, it's the hub of the kitchen activity. It's where the majority of the employees spend the majority of their shift. It's where all the most money is invested into the equipment. And it's usually the smallest area too, because everything has to be very close to each other and fairly tight and compact. So it's the main kitchen hub or cooking area. There's a lot of different pieces of equipment, and they all have to be under hood span. So it needs to be very logical and safe. So this one here that you're looking at is a pretty good example. So this is an open kitchen. And they're never truly 100% open. Rather, this is an open kitchen that you can see basically from your waist up, which is good because sometimes these floors can get quite dirty. So this is a very clean kitchen. Someone takes care of this, but as you can see, there's not a lot of room here. This was actually designed a little improperly because if you pull out these drawers and you pull out any of these, there is no way to get behind. So an engineer might not actually sign off on this, and I wonder if they did. So as far as the aisle space, I would say you'd almost have to double that. At least 1.5 times that. Other than that, though, everything that has open flame is located under this big hood bank. You have all this refrigerated area. This is your hot table to keep items hot. Your open windows, in which they have heat lamps up here. Lots of nice lighting. Big, tall convection ovens down there. This is another assembly station. So you might get soups, sandwiches, salads. It could be all kinds of stuff. So this is a heat lamp, so I'm assuming this isn't salads. But this could be hot meals, so it could be saute, it could be you name it. You're plating and you're putting up there. So it gives you an idea. This is the bird's eye view of a similar layout. So basically what's happening here, and the thing that's great about these is they really lay out not only what are the equipment types that we'll be using, but it also lays out what kind of staffing would this place have. So 7 kitchen staff during high volume, 3 during normal kitchen business. Right? So if you are a commercial food and beverage restaurant, what you would do is 3 staff might be your Monday night, whereas 7 staff on a Saturday night. So that's kind of the layout here. What you see is all the stuff that goes under the hood vents are over here with open flame, ovens, deep fryers, grills, some pasta cookers, and a bunch of saute. Pasta cooker on either side of the saute, so you either one, so someone can work on this side, somebody can work on this side, and they have access to that pasta cooker. And then they have 3 different assembly stations. 1 is cold with a food pickup window, and then 2 hot windows and 2 different assembly stations. Low business, you probably just have 1 person on the appetizer area, 1 person on the assembly, and 1 person on the saute. And then on a busy, you'd have 2 over here, 2 assembling, 1 on the grill, and 2 on the saute. So it just gives you a really good idea of how this would work. Now, as you can imagine, 7 people back here will be very crowded, so you just got to be careful. They would be able to go to the back house here to the server alley, which is this is the server alley, where this is the pickup window, or I guess it's right here, down here. So servers will walk up, You would probably have an expediter making sure all the sides and all the different additives and sauces are on it properly, and away you go. And the next slide, I think, is just a different option of pan layouts. So when you are designing your layouts in front of you, you will have to choose different size of pan layouts. This is actually, I know it doesn't seem like rocket science, but having to not consistently either refill, so there's some that you might say, okay, I only need a 1/9, and you're always refilling it. Well, then maybe you need a bigger size. And also you want everything in front of you. So you have that 6-foot reach, right? More or less. 5-foot reach. So you want to be able to have, if you're creating a sub, you don't want to have to walk 2 or 3 steps one way or the other to grab something. You want everything right in front of you. Subway, believe it or not, does a fantastic job. And this one here is just an L kitchen, which is just a little bit different, but again, it kind of shows the same things. They have all of these different range and ovens and fryers and deep fryers, the steam table, the cook's table, where all the meals are going to be completed. They have a depressed floor for all of these kettles, which is really useful because if they spill water, the depressed floor, that is always going to maintain that the water stays in there. And then they have another cook's table right there. What's cool is that it does give you all the dimensions, so you know how deep these areas are. This is a really good picture of what a kitchen should not look like. Okay, so this is more so an exhibition kitchen or a training kitchen where you might have students working on something, but this is not a kitchen line that you would necessarily see in any of your places. Okay, you know what? I think I found a new home for this. You're going up here. So, safety. A couple things about safety that we need to understand. Design can support safety and sanitary food handling, right? So you want to reduce the risk of foodborne illness. You want to reduce the risk of how many places the raw food, specifically chicken and meat, will touch. You can design places that it's very easy for when raw food comes in the back door, it goes straight to storage in a safe place. Also, you got to be careful about different corners where maybe hot food or oil or stuff is being transported around. So ensuring your safe work environment and your traffic flows make perfect sense. And also try to help avoid, contain, or suppress any fires that do happen. When it comes to efficiency, labor costs can be anywhere between 25 and up to 40% of your operating expense. Food costs can be 30 to 40%. So if you have a really high labor cost and a really high food cost, that could be 80% of all the revenues that you bring in. There's really not much for marketing, for new equipment, for rentals or leases or things like that. So keeping labor costs down can really help. And I like to think about it the science of steps. People count steps nowadays. You know, I did 10,000 steps today, fantastic. So when you think of reducing the amount of movement your employees will have to do, and the amount of re-storage or moving equipment as well, you're going to save a lot of time, you're going to save on labor costs, and you're going to be quicker with your food. So it can do all of those things for you and give you a happier, more energetic staff. If you make it easy to clean, people will clean it. If you don't, it's going to stay dirty. And that's about it. We are humans. We are faulty. We like to do the things we like to do. We don't love to do the things that we don't like to do. And most of those are cleaning, right? So when we develop our area, the use of materials on the walls, floors, and ceilings, we want to make sure they're easily clean. They don't stain. They're not porous, so they don't absorb. So they have like a bit of a, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe a plastic or, what's the word? Let's stick with plastic, sorry. It's something that's very easy to wipe down. Providing and arranging work areas so that cross-contamination is limited. Wall-hung equipment keeps floors uncluttered and therefore easy to clean. So if your floors have all kinds of stuff, so first of all, nothing should ever be located on the floor. At the very least, they need to be up on a pallet or up on a milk crate or something, but nothing should be ever on the floor, right? There's disease, there's rodents, there's dirt, there's grime, there's all kinds of stuff on the floor. So ensure you always don't have that. Put more garbage areas in your back house kitchen than you need. You'll never have enough of them. It always is good. And people get lazy. So if they have to walk around a corner to throw something out, they might just drop it on the ground. So when you are doing your design, and when you're thinking about your front of house kit or your hot line, your main line, when you're designing it, you have to think, I need to leave a couple spaces where a garbage can go in. Because if I pull out a pre-prepped vegetable package, it's in a plastic bag. This plastic bag needs to go somewhere. Often you'll see people just drop it on the ground. Put a garbage can around there. But you have to make sure there's room for it, so design it in. Production office. This is something that you guys probably haven't talked about a whole lot. There is a significant amount of theft in all food and beverage operations. Now, this could be unknown theft or theft you're not concerned with, such as cooks or servers grabbing fries from the fry bowl that's in the hot window, or a cook cooking a quesadilla and, you know what, they split it with some of the people there. That stuff I'm not really concerned with. People stealing steaks and food out of the fridges and alcohol from the alcohol fridge, yes, I'm very concerned with. So where you locate your production, your office, should have a pretty good sign of the production. Those prep areas, you want to minimize the number of walls and partitions between the functional areas. So even if you need to separate two areas, so we know this is the hot line and this is the pre-prep area, you can still do it with a half wall or a 3/4 height wall, where you can still see faces. You can still see someone back there. You just maybe don't see all what's happening. Where interior walls are necessary, as I said, use half height walls, and then also try to avoid separating by floor. So the flow of materials and personnel, there are 3 different ones that we really concern ourselves with. It is the movement of employees from one functional area to the kitchen. It is the flow of raw food from the entry and the back door to storage, to prep, and then out to the customers. And then the dishwashers, the dishwashing system, essentially. So how do clean dishes get to the hotline area and the prep areas, and how do they go out to the service area and then back to the dishwasher without causing any kind of accident, concern, or safety issue. And we looked at this last week a little bit, again, to kind of really break down all of the flow of materials and personnel. They all come in the back door. They're stored in different areas. Then they're pre-prepped. They might go back to storage after they're pre-prepped. So let's just say, you know, you're serving chicken wings that are served with celery and carrots. All the celeries and carrots are prepped, cut, moved back either to cold storage or into some storage in the final prep area. Some of those pull-out refrigerated areas, out to service, out to dining, and then back in. So the receiving area that we just looked at should allow enough space for hand trucks or dollies so that you're moving your equipment in easily. This on the right-hand side is about as small as you want to get, which is 8 foot by 8 foot. Also think that about large receiving areas should have a loading dock to accommodate larger deliveries, which is about 8 feet long. So depending on the size, your small little bakery, they can hand dolly it from their truck and in. But if you have large deliveries and a lot of food, Casino-Rama has 20-foot doors that they bring stuff in so they can unload multiple trucks at a time. Your exterior door should be a minimum of 6 feet to accommodate larger pallets. Storage. So we're looking at dry storage here on the right-hand side. This is not a good video location. Okay. So on the right-hand side, you'll see our dry storage. Again, nothing is on the ground. Anything that is on the ground are on rollable, self-contained containers. So you have all of your dry goods. It's very easy to have a FIFO, or first in, first out method, because with all your dry goods, you want to use the first item that you bought. So if I have 2 purchases, one on March 1st and one on March 15th, I want to use my March 1st stuff up before March 15th. Even though traditionally dry goods last much longer, that's still very important. And this could be paper, cleaning supplies, and then we also have our refrigerated storage, as well as maybe some utensils and cleaning equipment. With relationships to other areas, we want this to be close to receiving and our pre-prep or preparation area. Next slide. Here we have a couple different dry storage spaces. Well, I say dry storage, but these can be, this is the same bird's eye view and the same layout as a walk-in fridge or a freezer. So on the left-hand side is a 96 square foot for a very small restaurant where you have seven different, there are probably 4-foot racking systems in here, and enough room that you could have a removable cart or two. So that works well. On the right-hand side, you'll see 225 square foot fridge, freezer, or dry storage areas. All of these work very well. Now, there's 2 different layouts that they're choosing, one of which where you have 2 extra 20% more shelving, basically in this one, but you only have 3 feet in between the rackings. So if you have those big rolling storage areas, those are usually 4 feet by 4 feet, so you want to make sure, or they're 36 inches, which they won't really fit in here. So depending on what you're thinking, you could have a little bit bigger area so you can roll in and out the rolling racks, or you can just have a smaller area if you don't use rolling racks. But all your fridges and freezers can look very similar to this. You always need to have your own cleaning supplies, so cleaning supplies must have their own storage area, especially in a food service establishment. So usually it's a large cabinet. It could be its own room, but often they just have some sort of large cabinet like this. Refrigeration. So refrigeration is very important. Generally, we like to have 3 separate fridges if we're large enough. If we have enough reason to have all 3, one for produce, one for dairy, and one for eggs, and one for meat and poultry. So we keep all those 3 at different temperatures. Meat and poultry is the highest, then dairy is a little bit, meat and poultry is the coldest, and produce, you keep it at a higher temperature, and dairy's in the middle. So when decided on how big you want your refrigerated spaces, you want to keep a few factors in mind. So what is the size of your establishment? You shouldn't go any smaller than 8 foot by 10 foot. That's basically a minimum. When I worked at the brewery, our fridge was probably 30 feet by 80 feet. Like, we could drive a transport truck into it, essentially. It was a monster. But we were a brewery, so we had a lot of beer and a lot of kegs in there. You want to think of the kind of food service system. So how do I serve my food? Fast food places require more frozen. Casual sit down and cook to order places require more just refrigerated. The frequency of deliveries. So if I'm in a remote location, I might only be able to get 1 weekly delivery. So therefore my storage areas need to be larger to accommodate a week's worth of food. Rather, if I'm in an urban area, I can get deliveries every 2 days, and then it's a lot fresher and I can have less storage area. And then of course the form of the food. So when you look at this, you can see a bunch of different ways in which your refrigerators can look. They could be angled, they could be combo. This one's always neat where you have to walk through the cooler to get to the freezer. It really doesn't matter, whatever makes the most sense for your space. And again, when you think about where you put things, typically what we do is that we create a fridge map. So the fridge map should be on the door, on the inside. It'll tell you exactly where everything goes. And you also want to put things on the shelves in a specific order. So when you are closest to the fan, it's the coldest. When you're closest to the door, it's just cold. So where you want to put things matter. Where it's in the blue zone, you might want to put some of these items. In the red zone, you can put some of these things. Black zone are things that you can really put outside the cooler where it's cool and dry. Bananas, limes, potatoes, tomatoes, things like that. So again, it gives you an idea. And as well, when you go closest to, usually fans are blowing down. So when you go up high as well, sometimes these can really get very cold. So warewashing. Dishwasher is the least appreciated place in a back-of-house system, by far. You need to find a good dishwasher. You need to pay them a very good wage. Don't give a minimum wage. Be like, I'll give a line cook $15 an hour. I'll give my dishwasher $17.50 because my dishwasher makes my business run well, right? I want people to line up for that job because it's wet. It's loud, it's hot, it's not fun to work in. So if you get a good one, you keep them. All dishwashing areas must have the ability to wash not only dishes, but silverware, glassware, big trays, all kinds of pots and pans. You need at least a 3-compartment sink by law. even if you have a big dishwasher. The 3-compartment sink is that if your power goes out or anything happens, you always have the ability to soak or wash, rinse, and then sanitize. It's essentially what a dishwasher does, but you want to have the ability for all 3. You want to have drying and hanging racks where important, well lit, easily cleaned, and as much noise and moisture control as possible. And I'll show you a picture here of what it might look like. Excuse me. So you want it close to the entrance of the dining room, as well as close to the preparation area. Preparation area uses a lot of plates and knives and cutting boards. Dining room obviously has all the dirty dishes coming in, so that's where you want it located by. Lots of table space for them to drop all their dirty dishes on, so 60% for soiled, 40% for clean. It usually goes in kind of a horseshoe fashion or at least an L fashion. Glass washer is an option, so either you have a glass washer back there or you have one up at the bar. The hose and nozzle system is common. It's kind of bad for water use, but it's really great just to get all the gunk and all the food off. And then often we have oversized sinks that we want to use for cleaning larger kitchen equipment, some of those pots and pans that I was speaking about. And this is a really good picture here of what a dishwashing area would look like. So this is in our U formation, where basically this is where all the soiled dishes come. This here is a disposal for all the gunk that they might scrape off. All the servers put the cutlery in here, and then he sprays or she sprays all the dishes here, loads them up into a loader, puts them through the system. So this system here has, I think it's a conveyor belt system, this one, where it'll go through and be washed in a couple different manners, and then it comes out here clean and then goes into either storage racks or dish racks, which these are rollable. So those just roll to wherever they need to be. This gives you an idea of basically the same thing, just like a 3D view of it, where they have up top here, they also have the racks set up so you can put all the dirty dishes that they'll throw through. This is a single tank system, not a conveyor. So basically what's happening is that the dishwasher's back here, he's spraying everything down, and after he sprays everything down, he puts it in. He has to lock it down typically to start it, and then it'll come out over here. There's their 3-compartment sink just in case they need it, as well as they have all of this very rollable material to use, which is fantastic, right? They have all of these dollies and different dish rack systems because it's heavy and it's wet, so you don't want to be carrying a lot of weight and fall. When you're pushing this, it actually gives you stability. So this is a great little kitchen setup, and they have their mop area here, a little mop sink with all of their chemicals preset. So it's nice, it's bright, easy to clean. There are a couple different types of dishwashers that you can do depending on your size. So this is the square footage that it takes up and how many dishes per hour that you can expect that this one can do. A single tank machine, which is what we saw, is 1,500. A conveyor is 4,000. There's 2 tank, and then there's a flight type, which I'll show you what a flight looks like. So this is a conveyor system here where all you have to do is, sorry, this is a horrible movement of my little face. Okay, so this one here, you spray off and then you just send in, and then it kind of hooks in and just slowly ekes its way through and washes it. It's just great because you're not waiting, you're back to your cleaning. This one here, you got to spray off and then pull down, and then it operates, pull out and unload. So it is a little bit of a time waster. This here would be your another single use, but this is like your bar glass dishwasher. So instead of a rack full of plates, you would just have taller ones for wine glasses or water glasses or whatever. And usually you'd put this up in your bar area. And this is your flight, which is several different systems, very, very clean, very, very fast. We have one at Casino-Rama that we spent $150,000 on, and it has 2 levels of flights, so dishes on the bottom and glasses up top. It's like a Cadillac of dishwashers. It's crazy. And then there's some additional back of house areas that, oh, my face is gone. Oh, well. There's some additional back house areas that you also have to keep in mind. So there must be employee restrooms in all back house areas. You don't want your kitchen staff and your serving staff to share the same washroom as your guests. So typically it's 1 toilet for every 15 employees as per the Occupational Health and Safety Act. You want your office for reviewing invoices, doing computer work. You need trash and food systems, and you need hand washing facilities throughout. So as an employee locker room and toilet, these kind of things really add to the ensuring you keep your employees for as long as possible. So if you give them nice washrooms, if you find they have some nice secure storage, and maybe an area in which to take their break that's well lit and spacious, employees will stick around longer. You have to have hand washing areas. Now, I like these especially because they do block in a lot of the different areas. It stops a lot of water from dripping on the ground and causing more unsafe areas. And then some trash enclosures. So as you see, you have your layout of your general restaurant here, washrooms, and then this is their back of house. But they also need a trash area. So typically in Canada, we're outside. Sometimes throughout the United States and more temperate places, you'll see that they're inside a place because it gets so hot. But we're typically outside. We don't have to deal with months and months and months straight of hot weather. So this is a very good example of a sample trash enclosure where they have a couple bins in there. Or they have a couple in here, which is kind of blocked from view. So that's kind of important as well to ensure people sitting on the patio don't have that sight line. And then you'll also need some place to put cooking oil. And that could be anywhere outside, but as you can see, there's a bunch of different size bins that you could get. So this gives you an idea that it's not just the inside that we're worried about, but all of the areas that work together. So that's it here for today. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you in class for our next weekly assignment, week 5. See you then.